And the story of China starts a super long time ago near the Yellow River. People there learned how to farm and build villages. Around 2070 BC, the Xia dynasty began. This was the start of China's Bronze Age. We don't know a lot about the Xia dynasty for sure, but they started a civilization that lasted for thousands of years. After them, around 1600 BC, came the Shang dynasty. They left behind lots of cool stuff. They made a writing system, learned how to work with bronze, and had a complicated social structure. We found fancy tombs and oracle bones which they used to tell the future. These things show us how advanced their culture was, but it was the Zhou dynasty from about 1046 BC to 256 BC that really shaped ancient China. They came up with the Mandate of Heaven. This big idea explained why they were in charge and changed Chinese politics for a long time. While they were in power, iron became more important than bronze. This meant new tools and weapons. It was also a time when people thought hard about the world. That's when Confucianism and Taoism started, two important ways of thinking that changed Chinese society. Even though they did a lot of great things, the Zhou dynasty eventually got weak. China fell into a time of lots of fighting between different groups. Lots of powerful kingdoms fought to be in charge, and each one added to China's amazing history. But guess what? Out of all that fighting, a new, strong power came along: the Qin dynasty. In 221 BC, Qin Shi Huang, a tough and powerful ruler, brought all of China together for the first time. He got rid of the old system of lords and nobles, made weights and measures the same everywhere, and even made everyone use the same writing. But the thing he's most famous for is the Great Wall. It's a huge wall built to keep out invaders. The Qin dynasty didn't last very long, but it was important. After them came the Han dynasty from 206 BC to 220 AD. This was a great time for China. It shaped Chinese culture for hundreds of years. The Han dynasty made the empire bigger, started trade routes like the Silk Road, and helped art and literature grow. Confucianism became the official way of thinking, changing how people acted and how the government worked. After the Han dynasty, China was divided and unstable for a few hundred years. Then the Sui dynasty came along, from 581 to 618 AD, and brought China back together. They started building the Grand Canal, a big waterway that connected the north and south of China. Next came the Tang dynasty from 618 to 907 AD. This was another great time for China. The Tang capital, Chang'an, was the biggest city in the world. It was a place where travelers and scholars from all over came together. Poetry was super popular during the Tang dynasty. Famous poets like Li Bai and Du Fu wrote poems that people still love today. This was also when printing, gunpowder, and the compass were invented. These things changed the world forever. After the Tang dynasty, the Song dynasty started, from 960 to 1279 AD. This was another great time for China, but in a different way. The Song dynasty was known for being good at business and technology. They invented early kinds of paper money, the magnetic compass, and gunpowder weapons. They also started a system where people got government jobs based on how well they did on tests. This system was used by later dynasties too. But the Song dynasty also had problems. Nomadic tribes from the north were attacking them, and in 1279 they were defeated by the Mongols, led by Kublai Khan. This was the start of the Yuan dynasty, the first time all of China was ruled by foreigners. Even though the Mongols were strong fighters, they were pretty tolerant rulers. Kublai Khan liked Chinese culture and even moved the Mongol capital to Khanbalik, which is now Beijing. The Yuan dynasty made it easier for people and ideas to travel between East and West. Travelers like Marco Polo wrote amazing stories about what they saw in China. Facing pressure from nomadic tribes in the north, the Song dynasty was defeated by the Mongols, led by Kublai Khan, in 1279. This started the Yuan dynasty, the first time foreigners ruled all of China. The Mongols were fierce warriors, but they were also pretty tolerant rulers. Kublai Khan liked Chinese culture. He adopted many Chinese customs and even moved the Mongol capital to Khanbalik, which is modern-day Beijing. During the Yuan dynasty, trade and cultural exchange between East and West increased. Travelers like Marco Polo wrote about their adventures in China. However, the Mongols didn't rule for very long. By the middle of the 1300s, the Chinese people were unhappy, and there were problems within the Mongol Empire. This led to the end of the Yuan dynasty. In 1368, a rebel leader named Zhu Yuanzhang, who used to be a farmer, defeated the Mongols and started the Ming dynasty. This brought Chinese rule back to China.